For more than a decade, Viktor Orbán has balanced himself between Moscow and Brussels, pretending that Hungary could have the best of both worlds: cheap Russian gas on one side, European Union money on the other. For years it worked, but not anymore. Today that double game is starting to fall apart. And the man who once called himself Europe's strongest strategist is cornered by the very alliances he built. Let's unpack how Orbán's Russia gamble began, and why it's finally unraveling. Back in the 1990s, Hungary was still shaking off the dust of Soviet rule. The memory of 1956, when Moscow crushed Hungary's uprising, made Russians deeply unpopular. Joining NATO and the European Union seemed like a permanent escape from the Kremlin's reach. But after returning to power in 2010, Orbán began to pivot east. He called it Eastern Opening, a policy meant to diversify Hungary's alliances and reduce dependence on the West. In practice, it became a political and financial lifeline to Moscow. In 2014, he declared that Hungary should become an illiberal democracy modelled on Russia and China. And soon after, he signed a $10 billion deal with Russia's Rosatom to expand Hungary's Pax nuclear power plant, all financed by a Russian loan that tied Budapest closer to the Kremlin. From that moment, Orbán's foreign policy followed one logic: defend Russian ties at any cost. When Russia annexed Crimea, Orbán broke ranks with the European Union. He refused to support harsh sanctions. He said they would hurt ordinary Hungarians more than Moscow. Then he welcomed Vladimir Putin to Budapest, twice, and even approved the Russian-made Sputnik vaccine during the pandemic. By 2021, Hungary had signed a 15-year gas deal with Gazprom, locking in its dependence on Russian energy. And when Russia invaded Ukraine in 2022, Orbán used his veto in Brussels to water down or block sanctions, to delay aid packages, and to stall Ukraine's membership talks. Hungary, a member of both NATO and the EU, was behaving like Moscow's friend inside the house. At first, this made Orbán look powerful, the man who could say no to both Moscow and Brussels and still get what he wanted. But over time, the costs piled up. The European Union froze billions in funds, accusing Budapest of corruption and blackmail. And Hungary's once proud image as the clever survivor of Eastern Europe faded. Meanwhile, at home, something changed. Public opinion turned against Russia. In 2019, just over a third of Hungarians viewed Russia negatively. By 2024, nearly two-thirds did. When asked which country Hungary should cooperate with most closely, only 10% chose Russia. Most chose Germany. Even many Fidesz voters. Orbán's base now prefer partnership with Berlin over Moscow. This is a profound shift for a country long used to playing both sides. And then came Donald Trump. Orbán had hoped that Trump's return to the White House would save him. Trump admired him after all. He once called him a fantastic leader. But politics can turn fast. Frustrated by Putin's refusal to negotiate peace, Trump changed course and began pressuring Europe to stop buying Russian oil and gas. In his speeches, he even singled out Hungary. According to reports, Orbán tried to explain that cutting Russian crude could shrink Hungary's economy by 4%. Trump seemed to back off, but the message was clear. Even his closest allies were losing patience. Orbán's great balancing act between Moscow, Brussels, and Washington was breaking down. Now the pressure comes from all sides. The EU is pushing to reform its voting system so that one country can no longer block the entire bloc. If qualified majority voting expands, Orbán's veto, his most powerful weapon, disappears. European leaders have simply had enough of one man holding up sanctions, enlargement, and unity. At home, the opposition leader, Péter Magyar, is using this moment to strike. He argues that Orbán's obsession with Russia and Brussels distracts from the real crises Hungarians face: inflation, healthcare, transport, the cost of living. And polls suggest that voters are listening. The next election in 2026 may finally bring change. Orbán has sensed the danger. In September, he quietly signed Hungary's largest ever Western gas deal with Shell, a small but symbolic step toward energy diversification. But it may be too little, too late, because Orbán's real problem isn't gas or loans or Trump, it's time. The world has moved on. Europe is rearming. Ukraine, despite all odds, is still standing, and Hungarians themselves are turning westward again, tired of being Europe's outlier. Orbán's Russia gamble once made him look bold. Now, it makes him look trapped. If Hungary turns back to Europe in 2026, it won't just end one man's political career. It will close the last open door Russia had inside the European Union. If you found this analysis useful, give this video a like, subscribe to our channel, and visit westernrelations.com for deeper political insight into Europe's shifting world.